You
All right,
should.
we're live.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. It's Casual Convo Friday. My name is Tisha. I'm out of Arizona. We've got Nate, my co-host, and the person that asked all those amazing questions out
Yeah,
of
that's
Rome,
right.
Georgia. And we have Lola Pickett. She is out of San Diego, California. Her company is lolapickett.com. It's actually her website. But this woman is amazing. We were chatting in the green room. She has her podcast, Empath to Power, that she hosts. She's also the founder of Empathology, and she's all about shifting from self-repression to soul expression. I love it, Lola. I love it. I'm like doing a little happy dance. So the topic that we're diving into today is something that is so unique, and I really like this. A lot of us don't have a fear of failure so much, or maybe we do, but sometimes we have a fear of success. And so we're going to dive into this. Lola is also going to talk about anti-racism work as an empath. There's a lot of great nuggets that you're going to hear. My daughter teaming or just joining us. Love you too, Ellie. Aaron Justice, thank you. Happy Friday to you as well, and happy Neighborhood Project joining in. All right, so we're going to get this started. I know we've got about a half hour. We're going to dive in, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Nate, how about you?
Looking forward to it. Let's get it going.
Let's get it going.
All right. So Lola, let's hear it. What's your story? Tell us how'd you know that you're an empath? Tell us how you decided that. And I'm sure a lot of people just kind of want to know what that actually is, or tell us how do you use that for your career?
Yeah, well, that's about 5 questions wrapped into one. I love it. Okay,
I mean,
He's just getting down to business.
That's great. I love it. So I've always known that I was a super sensitive person because from a very young age, everybody would tell me, you really take things too personally, or, you should just get a little bit of a thicker
I kind of want
skin.
to know what that actually is.
Yeah, sorry.
And so I was confused growing up, wondering, well, doesn't everybody feel this way? Doesn't everybody look at a sunset and go like, kind of be crushed inside by the beauty of it? Or, when somebody's not happy with you, doesn't it make you want to like die a little bit? Apparently not everybody's like that, but I am. And so I grew up kind of in this dance between I'm an artist, I'm a sensitive soul, and I don't know if this is going to help me actually make a success of my life, because everybody who I see who's successful is kind of like down to business, toughened up, just kind of muscling through that whole like feel the fear and do it anyway kind of mentality, meme culture, right? And so I ended up kind of just tuning out from my innate gifts, from my intuition, from the real way that I am, and just kind of took the practical path. And so until I was about age 30, I was like, I'm going to do printing and publishing. I'm going to focus on marketing. These are the things that pay well. These are the ways that I can kind of like make sense of the way that I see things. But the life that I had built for myself was totally inauthentic to me because I was so disconnected from myself at that point. And so I had this big wake up call when I had my first child, and wanted to do things differently, wanted to be that parent who could actually authentically say, you can grow up and be whoever you want to be and do whatever you want to do with your life, because I was doing the same thing for myself. So a lot of things started to rapidly change. I left my corporate job. I started to do some freelance graphic design work, turned back on my sensitivity, and quickly evolved that brand into what is now here, which is a very successful podcast and a high-level resiliency training program for other sensitive souls like me who are tired of tuning out and wanting to overcome all of their fears, including their fear of success. It's been a really wild ride and lots of ups and downs, but I have seen a lot of correlations between sensitivity and resistance to really being visible and stepping up into our own personal version of greatness. So I'm here to help lead the way and to help empower others to be the next heart-centered leaders of our culture.
Gotcha. Oh, that sounds
Yeah.
great. So with that, how do you get people to? I mean, well, first of all, how did you overcome your fears of being seen, and how do you get other people to do it? That's always a problem for a lot of people, is taking that first initial step of just marketing themselves. Is pulling that trigger and being okay with any type of criticism they might receive.
Yeah, because people pleasing is one of those side effects of being an empath that is kind of commonly known, but along with procrastination and perfectionism, those are kind of the trifecta of all the ways that we keep ourselves protected from really stepping out there and taking a risk and being seen and getting that criticism and that feedback. And what I've done to help myself is really tune into who do I want to be? Who do I want to be right now? Because I've faced a lot of losses in my life. And what I've seen over and over again is that the thing that hurts the most when you're at the end of your journey is your disconnection from your true self and regrets around not having had the courage to live that more fully in your life and to make choices from that place. And so I kind of hold that close to my heart whenever I'm feeling resistant or scared of like, well, what are they going to think? And I do things like this, like little accents and accessories and fashion, which as an introvert actually helps me navigate things like conferences, networking events, speaking engagements, because people will come to me instead of me having to go and like break into the circle and introduce myself and have that awkward small talk conversation. They'll be like, hey, what is that about? And I'll be like, oh, good. You started the conversation. Okay, now I can do this. It works much better for me as a sensitive soul to do that. And the more remarkable I'm willing to be, the more people will be willing to approach me and get curious. And so that's one of my secret weapons.
Ooh, that's good. I like this conversation because you're really pulling this out of you have to be bold and you've got to be able to stand out. You can't be hiding, which, I talk a lot about too. Of too many of us are blending in for fear of what others will think about us. And I always say it's the most liberating feeling when you're like, I don't really care. I don't really care.
Yeah,
Nate, I think you already have that. I think you're solid on the I don't really care what you think. I'm just doing me. And we're seeing that a lot more lately. I'm just going to do me. I don't care what you think. I'm just going to do me because not everybody is going to like me. Real quick, I'm going to give some shout outs to some people joining us live. We have Jeff Apodaca. We've got Gary Rogers, Esther Martin. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you. Yes, if you have comments that you would like to or questions you have for Lola, please make sure to put those in the chat so we can address them right here in the show or on the replay.
Right there.
Oh, there you go. Okay, hey. Lola, do you rely on any mantras as well?
Yes, I totally do. I call them power statements in my work. And what I love to ask myself every single morning is, who am I being today? And maybe it's the same answer as it was yesterday. Maybe it isn't. But choosing intentionally who I am showing up as in my life helps me do everything from make breakfast for my kids in a certain way to how am I going to do my Facebook Live? How am I going to create my content for the day? How am I going to show up for my clients in the day? And if bold leadership is my power statement, or I'm going to be a bold leader, that's going to help me move through any resistance that I have. That's like, well, you can't really say that. It's like, well, what would a bold leader do? If that's not you in this moment, why can't you step into that? Act as if, step into that, embody that. It helps me get outside of myself and my limitations.
Yes. Esther even writing here, bold lipstick and all, standing out, stand out, bold lipstick. What's that thing that makes you unique? We have a question from Gary. Nate, if you want to put that up on the screen. What happens for those who are fearful, who don't have something interesting that others can see on the outside? Oh, it's a brilliant question. See, Gary's all about the brilliant questions too.
Such a good question. Such a good question. Well, I think that's a belief. It's a belief that you don't have anything interesting on the outside and that everything interesting about you is invisible. What would be possible for you in your life if you practiced a different story, right? Like if you started to get curious about what might be interesting, because, we bore ourselves a lot. And we don't see ourselves very accurately either. So what you consider to be uninteresting to yourself might be just the most fascinating thing for somebody else. It could be the tie that you're wearing, the pair of socks that you have on, the secret word you've written on your belly that says, I am enough. That can make you show up differently in a way that people can feel from the outside in.
I have that written on my belly.
Do it. Nobody will know except for you.
Get a tattoo. Yes. I'm just kidding. We got Kenneth, he's the LinkedIn user we see here. Power statements. Yes, I love it. That's great stuff. Nate, do you have some other questions for Lola as we keep continuing on our conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. I've always got questions.
I know you always do.
Well, Lola, so when somebody starts to work with you, let's say that I want to come work with you, and I need you to help coach coach me out of my shadow here. Get me, get me comfortable with being out there in the world. Talk us through that process. Talk through questions that you ask, tips that you give them, and how do you actually get them to move forward? Because that's always the hard part.
Yeah, it is the hard part. Well, what I believe and what I've seen to be true over and over again is that without resilience, it is impossible for you to fully step into your purpose. And what I mean by resilience is not like toughness, it's being fully equipped at every level to trust yourself to navigate the next unknown. And to equip yourself, it really starts with our bodies. And I'm not talking about like going out and pumping iron, although that's awesome, or, running every day. It's about our nervous systems, our internal control panels, which are designed to keep us safe. And so if our nervous system is wired for protection and we're perceiving our own success as a threat to safety, every internal mechanism that we have is going to send us into fight, flight, or freeze instead of social, relational ease, confidence, and the ability to take safe risks. So what I do is I help train the nervous system, almost like a personal trainer for the inside of your body, so that you can learn what your wiring is and begin to shift your neurobiology into a place of more resiliency. And then we start to go into sensory skills and boundary work and visibility work and all of that. But without a foundation of nervous system resilience, none of that really becomes sustainable or truly possible.
That's the clip. Boom. That's the one I'm using, Lola.
There you go.
When we do the replay, I always grab a clip of the one that I'm like, oh, that was mind blowing. Okay, that's the clip right there. I start it. And yes, Boom. Esther, I did get my hair cut. I think all of us had quarantine hair.
Huge question.
I was like, I'm just gonna cut it. I'm gonna cut it back and do it short because it's easier for me to manage. No more like messy bun kind of deal. All right. Okay. I know we have some other questions as well.
Yep. We do from Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff. Okay. Do you want to throw that up there? Okay.
Yeah.
It says, in the cannabis industry, we still have a lot of people in the closet. How can I say this when it's legal here in California? I say, if it's so legal, why does everyone still have a burner phone? How can I help them come out?
There's a lot of shame around medicines, specifically plant medicines that have been shunned and put on the schedule, and then now are getting taken off. And so there's a lot of internal shame to unpack for people who are your clientele around owning that this is actually genuinely medicine for them in many cases, right? It's healing, it's anti-cancer, it's anti-inflammatory. So I think really focusing on the proven scientific health benefits of the medicine can help to shift the perspective around, well, this is like a secret habit that only dirty hippies, use in the back of their vans, like that's not where we're at anymore. And it's actually quite sophisticated at this point. It's also about who are you targeting? Sometimes we offer something and we're offering the right thing to the wrong people. And that can be a habit of people pleasing as well. And one of the ways that we protect ourselves from our success is like choosing the safe audience. So there might be an opportunity for inquiry around, who do you want to target with what it is that you offer and what you do? And can you up level it all? Is there a different way you can position your offering?
Awesome. All right.
We got another question.
I know. I just got questions rolling in. Lola, have you tried social feedback to get a clearer vision of what general audiences find interesting? Also, have you also found that niche market? This is coming from Kenneth.
Yeah, I've definitely found my niche working with empaths and highly sensitive people who are already kind of a fringe, less than 20% of the overall population group of people. And that's come over time. It's come sort of through social feedback, but a lot through like a lot of trial and error, to be honest, a lot of flops and failures and offerings that just didn't go anywhere and non-specific marketing language. And so I've had to go back to the drawing board over and over again in my business to go, really, who is it? Who is it that we're actually serving? What are the common denominators? Are they what I think they are? Or is there something else going on there? And actually the thing that got me niched down pretty perfectly at this point is a conversation with my mother who we were talking about boundaries and talking about kind of our family patterns of the spectrum of narcissism and empathy and like where we kind of fit on that spectrum. And my mom made this offhand comment to me and I was like, oh my God, that's it. Like that, this is the thing that I need to talk about more. And I posted some questions on Instagram on my stories. Do you have these things going on in your life? everybody was like, oh my God, yes. And so I actually created a description called empath stress disorder that describes these side effects that keep us held back in our lives, like perfectionism, like procrastination, like people pleasing, that have emerged out of social feedback and also just real deep dives into my own personal growth journey.
All right. Well, looks like it's time for me. No, I'm just kidding. So,
It is time for you.
yeah. Now, Lola, you've been talking about a lot of good stuff for real. I think it helps out a lot of people. I definitely agree with you that a lot of people they're just flat out scared of what could happen if they did step out of their comfort zones and such like that. It's a hard thing for a lot of people to do. In terms of things that people can do to try to channel what they're trying to sell or trailing what they're trying to tell people or educate or whatever. What are some mediums that you have them use? Is it just social media? Do you have them do events? Like, do you set that stuff up for them? I guess I'm just trying to get into more of what you're offering for people.
Yeah. My core offer is the empathology resilience training. So that's really what we focus on in our business. And then from that foundational resiliency work, we can grow into either business mentorship through my mastermind or high-level private coaching. So I don't do any of the event setup, but I will help them with messaging, with getting their podcast out. I find podcasting to be an incredible way to create immediate intimacy with your exact ideal people. And so that's one of my favorite ways to support our business clients, is to figure out what would that podcast be? What's the messaging? How can we get your intro to be exactly the right thing to keep them listening deeper, helping them get their music. As an empath, we're sensitive to all those different layers. And so when I can tune into what is the unsaid need of my clients' community, we can really create some powerful possibilities for them to form those connections. It is about what you say. It's about how you say it. And it's also about the medium you say it in, right? And so social is kind of getting a little tired. It's getting very politicized. So there may need to be a different place to go where you're not just making more noise, and I find podcasting to be a really great place for that.
Mm-hmm. Good. I know we have a couple more questions coming through. Kenneth asking, Lola, what analytics have you relied on to date?
These are good. We have some core metrics that we look at for our launch performance every single time we launch our program. But we also do Google Analytics for all of our opt-in sequences and really just dial in the performance of all of those pages. So we're looking at conversion rates. We're looking at, social audience size, but more important than audience size is ratio of buyers, right? Like if you can't monetize your tiny 100-person Instagram following, then how are you going to monetize 1 million? So you've got to get really good at making those connections and converting that audience from the very beginning. And so we're looking at those conversion rates very specifically, and also the lifetime value of our customers, which is huge. So we grow our customers pretty successfully once they're in our ecosystem. So looking at growing those numbers.
Good. So you find that there's a lot of retention with your clients. These are long-term clients. They come in and then you help them with all of the various aspects.
They come in, we zhuzh them up. It feels so good that they just want more.
And that's how it should be, everybody. It should not be a transactional kind of deal.
No.
All right.
No.
Analytics is more my language, just so you know.
You're like, I like this.
Yeah, I get in this part. It really all is interesting. It really is interesting. The thing that's interesting to me is because, to be quite honest with you, I'm your polar opposite in terms of personality, to be quite honest. So, learning.
I couldn't tell.
Yeah. Learning from the other side of the spectrum, it helps. I like learning how other people are. It's always good to kind of get that other side of the fence, because a lot of times I'm straight business all the way. That's just the way I am. But in that, we're talking about analytics and we're talking about all this other stuff. We've got Esther, who's got some questions to ask you here.
Yes. So I'll read this out just for everybody. In my Mary Kay business, hey, wait. I want to target women who look like they have it all, business powerhouse women. How should I approach women who look like they turn you down? Seriously.
Well, how do you know what's got you thinking that they would turn you down? That's something internally for you to explore. But just because somebody looks like they have it all, we all know, and we all have those stories of feeling dissatisfied. And so to share those stories from your own experience, to share those stories from other clients that you've worked with and supported, and like letting themselves be more authentic in their lives through the way that they're, presenting themselves and taking care of themselves is huge, because it makes you feel like there's not something wrong with you. Like my feeling when I was doing that and had all the boxes checked and the white picket fence and the golden retriever and like the college sweetheart husband, was that there's something wrong with me, that this isn't enough for me, that this is not making me feel satisfied with my life. And if you can take that element of self-judgment out of it by saying this is actually really normal and there's a solution for it, and it can be just as easy as choosing a different color of lipstick, like how would that feel?
That's actually a good selling point for her.
Right?
Hey, so I host a networking group here. In fact, Happy Neighborhood Project, who was on a little earlier, and I find that, and you'll see this a lot, I'm sure, Lola and Nate, that so many people lead with the features, but they're not really putting those people in the room into this place of how can I serve you?
Yeah.
How can I serve you? It's just this laundry list of we have XYZ, like, all these things. And it's like, did you really speak to me, or did you just read the script that they gave you? Because if you can make it more specific to me, where I'm listening to what you're saying and I actually feel like I am the person you're speaking to, then I am more inclined to meet you after or continue the conversation. So yes, I like that. I like that question that you asked. So it's not so much about making all these statements. It's more about asking the questions, asking the right questions.
Well, if you lead someone to an insight or a breakthrough and you change the way they think, isn't that as valuable, if not more so, than your 5 points of awesomeness about your product, right? Like to change someone's mind is pretty much the only way you're going to create that powerful relationship with them anyway.
Right.
And you're not going to do that by telling them how to think. You're going to help them think for themselves.
Yep. That's great. Kenneth had another question for you, Lola. What analytics? I know, Nate, you're getting all excited.
You're
getting all excited about this. What analytics have you relied on to date?
I think we answered that question.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You asked the wrong question.
No.
Okay. You told me to hold my horses, and I had the right question up.
Hey. Okay. You're right. Okay, Lola, how much have you explored the active, aka live media platforms?
I have explored them a bit, especially when I do my challenges as part of my launch sequence to enroll into my program. We do a lot of like daily lives and Q&As and bring people on and guest interviews and things like that. And my favorite platform for that is Ecamm Live, because I can do fancy graphic stuff that I like to get nerdy about, since my background is in graphic design. And it makes it easy to integrate with Skype and things that do interviews. So I really love live media. I want to do more on Instagram. Once my Reels gets turned on, I'm excited to do that too. But there's something about like the immediacy and the connection with someone's personality that you can make with live streaming, as you are experiencing right now, right? The unedited, unpolished version of someone. It's like, oh, that's the real person. That's not just their like edited social feed. That's who I want to work with. It's really powerful.
I love that.
Because I mean, I think a lot of times people shy away from like working with other people simply because they feel like they're not up to par, right? Like they always feel like, well, I'm not ready to work with you. I'm not ready. I'm not there. And what they don't realize is like all of us have basically the same problems, or at least the same degree of problem, or whatever. It kind of goes the full spectrum, but. In doing that, I love the fact that you're doing the live events and the Q&As, because I think that allows people to realize, hey, I'm not by myself in this. Like there's other people like this, and you may be able to actually build up great partnerships that way. So I love that part. That's awesome that you do that.
Oh yeah, it's so much fun.
Now we got another question here. You're getting rapid fire today.
Love it.
Kenneth's got some great questions, honestly. Okay, so Kenneth is asking, what has been your most effective campaign to date, and what were the top 3 components that made it so effective? And Kenneth is also an analytics guy. He and I have, talked on LinkedIn. He's a total numbers guy as well.
Awesome.
All right.
So my most effective marketing campaign to date was the last challenge launch that we did. What made it effective was a 3-phase runway leading up to that challenge launch that was about 6 weeks long. So we weren't just going from cold to ask for purchase. We really had an effective process for warming people up through exposing them to our content on Facebook ads and Google ads, and then getting them into the ecosystem, getting them excited about the challenge, getting them into the challenge. And then in the challenge, what made that so successful was this core belief, this domino belief that if you agree with me on that belief, then you start to see why my program is essential for you. So that's kind of how that works really well. And it's like, if you believe that without resilience you can't live your purpose, then you're going to be naturally more inclined to follow through on that conversation with me.
That's awesome. Well, listen, it's getting pretty close to our time, and we definitely want to allow you to get your shameless plug in there, as we do for everybody, and talk about anything you got going on, any big events, stuff like that. So we're ceding the floor to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for this time and space. It's been so much fun. So I do have my next challenge coming up, the Resilience Reboot, which is for purpose-driven, sensitive entrepreneurs who want to step into their purpose more fully and stop fearing success. And that's just a 5-day free, fantastic, super fun, engaging, and personally meaningful experience for everybody who's involved in that. We had 1,600 people, I think, go through the challenge last time. So it was really like very lively and very fun. And it's like, oh, there are other people like me out there. And that's at resilience-reboot.com. Or you can just hop on my email list at lolapickett.com and I'll get you the information. And that's going to lead up to empathology, which is our last enrollment for this year for that full spectrum resilience that we all know we need and aren't quite sure how to get.
Very cool. And when does the challenge start then?
Challenge starts on 9/21, September 21st, 9 a.m. Pacific.
September 21st. And are you doing lives within like a Facebook group?
Yeah. Yeah, there'll be a Facebook group, and then I have a whole just absolutely beautiful, drool-worthy web experience to go through as well. So for Facebook haters, you don't have to do that part, but we've got this great live aspect as well.
All you Facebook haters, yeah. Oh, very cool. Well, I'm excited. I'll go ahead and share that when we repost this, as well as the amazing clip that I found for you that we heard. Yeah. And yeah, big thanks to everybody tuning in. I know Esther is saying she's going to watch it again. So if you are watching the replay, please make sure to still comment, because Lola sees it, I see it, Nate will see it, and then we can respond back to you as well. We do have one more question if we have a little bit of time, Nate. Looks like we do.
Yeah, we got 2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes. Okay, Lola, with your background in graphic design, how have you adopted emerging tech trends seen on a variety of platforms?
Well, I love paying attention to like the latest design trends, and not necessarily just getting influenced and just changing everything right away, but like what is working really well? Why is it working? Why is it working better than what was here before? And so we just did a huge rebrand for our podcast and have seen a massive uptick in engagement and downloads and listenership because we were listening, and watching what it is that other podcasts are doing and replicating it like an artist. Like Picasso says, learn what works and then do it in your own way. And that's what we're doing with our graphic interface for everything. And we're in the middle of our program redesign right now, doing the same thing. It's really exciting.
Exciting. I love that part. So you got a great compliment, very insightful, great casual convo Friday. Yay. That's a great thing to see leading into the weekend. Thank you, Lola. And just so you know, we're going to put this out. We're always looking for amazing guests like Lola. She actually reached out to me on LinkedIn, and that's how we have her on. Never met her before, but great to be able to connect with her and have her on. So if you are someone that's tuning in or you want to be on our Casual Convo Friday, check in with me or Nate, and we'll get you the form to fill out so that we can have you on with us in the future. But thanks so much, Lola. Nate, always a pleasure. Great questions. Great questions.
Great questions,
I know, right?
everyone.
I didn't have to do any work today. Everybody else did it for me.
Shout out to Gary, too, who's always like, Nate has great questions. All right. Well, we will be back next Friday with another hot seat guest. So make sure you tune in, or as I mentioned, catch the replay. If you've missed any of this, Lola, thank you so much. This was a really insightful conversation, just as our LinkedIn user had said. And appreciate you, Nate, and we'll see you guys next week.
You too. Y'all have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too.